I'm going to share a negotiation story with you about what happens when confronted with the unexpected. Here's some background. I'll tell you the story from the seller's point of view. The seller is a U.S. manufacturer of electronic assemblies for the telecom infrastructure market. Now, this market's very mature with a lot of competitors. The seller's strategy is to be a supplier to all the major telecom operators around the world. The buyer in this case is a European telecom network operator who's purchasing about $50 million in the category the seller's participating in it. They're headquartered in Europe and drive most of their revenue out of Asia. They service countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Thailand, and Malaysia. One interesting fact about the buyer is they've delegated all of their purchasing decision-making to one of their Asian subsidiaries. Now, on the seller side, the account manager is a European with significant experience living and working in Asia. For this reason, management's tasked him with bringing this account in. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, but as you'll learn, things aren't as simple as they seem. So on to the negotiation. 5 suppliers were invited to participate in the face-to-face negotiation in Singapore. The scope of the negotiation, as I said before, was $50 million. This represented about 3,000 line items. From the outset of the negotiation, the buyer made it clear that the number one selection criteria was price. Now, the seller in this story has never sold on and never will sell on price. They sell on technology and service. So let's talk about what the buyer did to influence the negotiation up front. Number one, they set an unrealistic anchor by inviting an ultra-low-cost supplier where quality and service weren't really their strength. They were really only there to drive down the price. So we don't have a real apples-to-apples comparison when you look at the whole cost of ownership. 2, they controlled the setting by requiring the 5 negotiating teams to travel to Singapore. So anyone who spent a significant amount of time in a hotel room knows how painful this can be. 3, they psychologically controlled the negotiation by inviting 5 suppliers to compete against each other. Think about it. The buyer was clearly communicating that they had alternatives, and if you couldn't match the lowest price, they would go with someone else. 4, they physically worked to undermine the resolve of the suppliers by requiring them to be available to negotiate 24 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Each team would be summoned via text message at any hour of the day or night. They had 20 minutes to arrive after receiving the text message. This could happen at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 9 a.m., 3 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, it didn't matter. So how did the supplier deal with these negotiating traps? Number 1, they developed a clear walkaway position on each line item before going to Singapore. 2, they brought a team to deal with the around-the-clock negotiations in the 3,000 line items. The team consisted of 2 lead negotiators and an admin to keep track of the offers. 3, the lead negotiators actually slept in shifts, so someone would always be fresh and be available for a negotiation. So let me tell you what actually happened in the negotiation. The customer strategy to wear down the suppliers began to backfire as the week went on. Remember, they had 5 suppliers, all negotiating for 3,000 line items. When you consider 5 suppliers, that's 15,000 line items they needed to keep track of. By the time they reached the 4th day of negotiations, the buyers' round-the-clock negotiation tactics began to break down. And some of the buyers actually fell asleep during the negotiation meetings. Unbelievable. So the sellers stuck to their walkaways and didn't take the bait and chase the low-cost suppliers. And at the end of the day, the buyer signed a frame agreement with all 5 suppliers, but they never bought any significant volumes from the seller in the story. You know why. It's because their prices were too high. So I have 3 takeaways I want you to get from this story. First takeaway is be prepared for the unexpected. In this story, the seller did an excellent job of adapting to the physical and psychological tactics thrown out by the buyer. Secondly, develop and stick to your walkaway positions. Lack of sleep, emotions, frustration, desire to win can all conspire against you in a negotiation. Establish and stick to your walkaway so that you're prevented from signing a bad deal. And if you're the seller, be honest with yourself. If the buyer is highly competitive and they're clearly communicating to you that they're only purchasing on one criteria, something that you can't deliver, be careful about how much time you invest. In this story, the supplier was never going to get close to the lowest price, and they were never going to be able to match the terms and conditions of sale of the other suppliers. So they should have spent a lot less time and had more realistic expectations. I hope that you enjoyed this story, and if you did, please share it with your network. Thank you.